Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and once again, I'll be in the driver's seat for today's show as we learn how to stop chasing paychecks and learn how to start building a business that we can be proud of. We do this by talking to some of the most successful people in all realms of business to see how they got ahead. We have a great show for you today because we have a great guest, Pat Miller. Pat, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. I look forward to the conversation.
It's great having you here. So, Pat, why don't you tell all of our listeners what it is you do?
Okay, so my name is Pat Miller. As you said, I own Blue Diamond Construction. I'm a commercial framing contractor in the state of New Jersey. I build larger scale commercial buildings for developers and owners alike. And basically, I build the bones of the building. Considered a carpentry contractor.
Yeah.
So I build all the walls, I put everything where it goes. And I pretty much build everything that you walk into every single day and without knowing that I'm behind the scenes.
All right. So the question that we got to ask is, what got you started doing that?
Okay, so I write about that in my book that I wrote recently. It chose me.
Hmm.
So it was my late husband's trade, and I basically got tired of living paycheck to paycheck because he was a union worker. So if anybody knows unions out there, you know that you're usually unemployed more than you're employed. And when we started having children, I said, I really don't want to live like this paycheck to paycheck anymore. So I saw the opportunity. I have a degree in business and a degree in accounting, minor in business, and I took $100. It's the American dream. I took $100 out of his late layoff check, and I got business cards and flyers made, and I went around to every empty commercial building in our area, and we got a call, and our first job was a Workout World in New Jersey. It was a big gym, asked for a third down, and we haven't looked back. We went out and bought tools, trucks, gang boxes, and that's my American dream story. I haven't looked back, and my husband passed away since after being together for over 30 years, and I continued running the company without him because that's what I knew how to do.
Yeah. What do you like best about it, Pat?
I like the flexibility. I like being able, it's long hours. We all know as an entrepreneur, long hours, but you get to pick your hours. So I like the flexibility of being able to be there for my children when they were growing up and picking your time when you can. So, you have to work, you have to make up the time. There's no getting around time, in the being an entrepreneur. But, I was able to be there for my kids, like I said, raise two amazing men. I didn't raise boys. And I was able to be there, go to their sports, and I'm still able to pick and choose my time. So flexibility is a huge key for me.
All right.
I'm able to have a life when I want to have a life. So,
Where do you think all the success came from for you?
grit, perseverance. I had to do all that after my husband passed away. I have to know the inner circle, work my way around. I am in a man's world. There's
Yeah.
no getting around it.
Yeah.
It's commercial construction is a man's world. It's getting there since I first started in the early 90s. There's a lot more women, but still, we're only 11% of the construction industry. So, I like it. I like to persevere. I like to be the underdog. I like for people to say, oh, yeah, she knows what she's doing, her pink fingernails, right?
Mm.
She get on the job site and they count you out. Underdogs are basically the ones that are counted out,
Yep.
right? They don't think you can do it. And then I show them what I got, and they're like, all right, she knows what she's doing.
Well, I
So
know you're leaning into that underdog idea, and it's a good one. I mean,
it is.
America roots for an underdog. We like underdogs. We like to see them win. So, yeah,
Yep.
it's good
I've
stuff.
been an underdog my whole life, Josh. So I'm one of seven kids. I grew up in poverty. I tell the story again in my book. I always say my brothers and sisters looked at me as competition for food because
Mm.
we grew up with nothing. I grew up on a hot farmhouse, okay,
Jeez.
and we had to work. I've been working since I'm 5 years old.
Yep.
Very, very strict father, and I always pull from my childhood because I truly believe if I didn't go through those hard times and have a strict father that made me get out of bed from sunrise to sundown,
Yep.
I wouldn't know the value of hard work.
Yeah.
And you could either have it break you or build you. And I chose it to build me. My dad was very little education, but he was the smartest man. I always talk about him. Smartest man I ever knew. Taught me a lot about business, a lot about life. How to deal with people. We ran a farm market from the summer months because my dad had two jobs. He was an electrician by trade, and then we sold the local farmers' produce in the summer, and it was hard work.
Yeah.
But it taught me about numbers, how to scale, use the scales, accounting, and that kind of led me into the accounting college for me. So I always tell the younger kids, it's good to get at least 2 years of college. I'm not a huge fan of college, but it serves its purpose.
Yep.
You
Agreed.
should know how to run a business. You should know accounting, because when you start making money, you need to know how to utilize it.
Yep.
And utilizing money smartly is very essential because a lot of guys blow up and then they don't know what to do with their money, their
That's right.
fame.
That's right.
So I attribute my tough childhood into that. So
Absolutely.
underdog is my theme. I utilize that. It's a strength in my opinion. You got to utilize it as your 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 ability to overcome being the underdog.
So, where do you think your passion comes from for what you do?
My passion comes from not wanting to live the life I grew up in,
Yeah.
right? I always say I'll never live without air conditioning. My farmhouse was so hot. We
Right.
had one fan, 9 people.
Yeah.
So I don't want to live that way. I'm determined to continue to pound the pavement and be successful. I've grown quite a nice company. I almost lost it. So when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, I had to take 2 years off, and I spent my entire life savings. But his sweat and his hard work gave me a good life. Construction can give you a very good life, as real estate can, and I owed him that. So I took 2 years off. I took care of him. I was his nurse, and I spent my life savings. And he passed away after 2 years of battling cancer, and I had to rebuild my entire career and our business. So
Mm.
I had to start all over again. If
Yeah.
you told me I would have two careers at 52, I would tell you you were nuts years ago because, we all think we have it figured out, Josh.
Yep.
But sometimes life throws you curveballs and you have to deal with it.
Yeah,
You can't be
absolutely.
the victim. You have to persevere and you have to get out there and work hard again. Start all over.
To play in the big leagues, you got to learn how to hit the curveball.
That's right.
That's
That's right. And that's part of my business strategy is, rolling with the punches.
yep.
And, you get the opportunities, but you have to prove yourself.
I
And,
want to lean into that a little bit. The idea of rolling with the punches because it's an entrepreneurial skill that people
it's,
it's not talked about in business schools so much, but that idea of how do you deal with yourself, Pat? How do you personally? Because I've talked to lots of entrepreneurs. They all have their own way of dealing with themselves when it comes to unmet expectations. When you're in business, you put a lot of things out there. You bid a lot of
sure.
projects. You work a lot of customers, and sometimes there's that one man you have great connection, everything's fine, and then go with someone else. How do you deal with the disappointments in business? What's how you keep yourself on track?
Well, you have to learn how to accept rejection. That's part of business.
Yep.
So, I think being one of seven, I was rejected a lot as a kid, right? So it kind of helped me build my foundation and prepare for rejection. It's just part of being in business. You have to learn from where you went wrong, what happened. Sometimes you do absolutely nothing wrong. It's just all a numbers game, and sometimes you have to persevere and you have to keep your professionalism up there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to continue to bid and continue to knock on the door of the people who rejected you
Yep.
because that's a level of professionalism all in itself.
Yep.
Because a lot of people get angry, oh, that guy, this guy, whatever. I don't do that. I actually have a good story about that right now going on in my business. I was rejected last fall for $20,000. I was $20,000 high, and they gave it to the low bid, And I was like, okay. I continued to bid with them, and I kept my name under their nose because
Yep.
I wanted the opportunity. I need to get in there, Josh. I have to sometimes cut my rate a little bit
Yep.
because I am a woman. And if people don't know my quality,
Right.
my consistency is huge in construction.
Huge.
Honesty is huge because they're all expecting, a fast talker. And, I hang my hat on reputation. So sometimes your reputation is being built when nobody's looking.
Yep. It's totally.
So you have to keep that in mind. And I kept bidding with them, and then they called me. The guy they gave it to really screwed the job up.
Yep.
Would you come back and help us out? Yes, I did, because that's my opportunity to show them what they missed out on.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I could have gouged them. You could gouge people when they're in a tough spot. They have money on the line. They're paying up $10,000 in interest on their construction loans. But
Yep.
I didn't do that. I actually gave them a break in my rate
Hmm.
because I wanted to give them a taste of what I have.
Of what it's like to
So,
work with somebody good. Yeah.
right. So I gave them a good rate. There's a fine line with undervaluing yourself,
Yes.
but I gave them a discounted rate, and I let them know up front. I'm a very honest business person. This is not my normal rate. I'm going to help you out because you're in a bad spot.
Hmm.
But that $20,000 cost them $200,000
Yep.
because my T&M tickets are over $200,000.
Yep.
Not because I wanted them to. If I charged them my regular rate, it would have been over 300.
Yeah.
But I gave them a taste, and they're like, you saved us, right? Thank you. They're opening this week. I helped them out, but I wanted them to see why sometimes quality is a little bit more.
Well, I mean,
It's not just about the number,
it's
right?
investing in that in those relationships as well.
Right.
When they see that not only do you do business the right way, but you're willing to have empathy for what they're going through, and hey,
Right.
look, let's make this up later on together. I was asking you to trust me. I gave you my bid. I was asking you to trust me with this job. You
Right.
didn't. So let me give you another opportunity here. I'm going to trust you going forward, right? I'm going to
Correct.
take and get this done for you. I'm going to take care of you. And just like anybody else, I take care of you. Do me a solid, take care of me later on. Uh,
Exactly. Now I'm building their next location.
Absolutely. And that's the
So,
thing. I don't want this job. I want every job they're ever going to do.
correct.
How do I get that? By the way I do this job.
That's my I call it strategic patience.
Yeah.
Whether I made that up or not, but in my mind, I call it strategic patience.
Yeah.
So you hold yourself to the level of professionalism. It's very easy to get caught up in anger and emotions.
Oh, yeah.
It's a job. Forget about it. Keep pounding on the door, keep knocking on the door. And then they see it and they're like, oh my God, why didn't we hire you from the beginning? You're so service oriented. You're always there. You're reactive. I'll work the weekends. I'll help them do whatever they need to get done to open because I'm client oriented.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know firsthand when I work with developers and owners, time is money.
Very
They
much so.
can't get their money coming in until they open the doors,
Especially
right?
with the cost of construction debt right now.
Yeah, I mean,
It's so expensive.
millions. They're
Yeah.
they're spending millions of dollars, these guys, between equipment and fit outs and finishes and I could have easily taken advantage of them. But what happens when you do that? One and done.
Yep.
They're going to say, "Yeah, she does good work, but she overcharged us
She
because we were
raked
in a
us over
bad
the
spot."
coals, boy. She made us pay. Yeah, no.
And I don't do that.
Yeah, it's not
I
what you
don't do
want.
that.
It's not
No,
what you want. My father
no.
always told me you got one reputation. You take
Correct.
care of that.
I talk about that all the time. Reputation is so critical, and it's easily ruined.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
It's so easily ruined and it's a shame because my dad, I talk about him all the time. He always said, Patty, remember one thing. You could never drink any alcoholic beverages in your life. You go to one party and you get drunk and you're labeled a drunk the rest of your life.
yeah,
Isn't that a horrible thing? But it's true. And you're going to spend your whole life trying to convince people that I don't really drink, right?
yeah.
But they judge you. They judge you on that reputation. They judge you on the things that you do wrong. It's just the world we live in.
It's
You
how
have to
human beings are
keep
wired. Absolutely. And we do the
it.
same thing. We do the same thing with
We
people.
do.
I
I
mean, we
mean,
give.
it's just
I'm a believer in second chances and things like that. But when people engage in certain behaviors, you have the requirement to defend yourself and that which you've built, and that requires you to take the information you have and make decisions based upon that. Um,
it's true, and you can't get mad at people because they do that. I'm in an industry where it's
I was
multi.
about to say, yeah, yeah. You deal with it. The people that work in the construction industry, sometimes they're great, they're gangbusters, and but lo and behold, behind the scenes, they have certain personal issues.
It's rampant in my industry,
I
and
used to be in the
I
restaurant
tried.
industry, same thing.
It's just it's life, right? It's
Yep,
life. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got something going on, and as I age and get older, and I'm a lot more humble. I'm a lot more understanding. I understand that everyone has a life.
yep.
Everybody's entitled to their own lives. I don't.
Their own
My
choices.
guys,
Yep,
they're not robots.
yep.
They have children that get sick. It happens.
Mhm.
So as you get older, in this industry, especially, you kind of give people a break. You don't treat them, as a dollar sign. You create relationships. I like to create clients for life.
Yep.
Usually, if I don't work with a client anymore, it would just be because they either disrespected me,
Mhm.
talked down to me, didn't pay their bills. But I don't really have that problem. I pick and choose. I'm blessed who I work with,
Yep.
and it's usually a client for life. You know,
That's
a reputation is critical. Like I tell you, it's honesty is essential. There's no questions about being honest because everybody's expecting that quick talker.
look.
And
You're
I
talking to
don't.
the guy who wrote the book "Close for Life." I am
Yes,
all about closing customers for life, and how do we do that from the beginning going forward? With that, if that's the end goal, it changes how you do everything along the way. How do
it's
we take and
true.
turn this into somebody who's going to give us business forever? Because everything short of that is chasing a paycheck versus building a business, right?
Exactly.
Repeat
And
clients,
it
how you build a
me,
business.
yeah, me more so. I keep going back. People don't like to hear about women, being it's a fact of my life. It's not going to change in my lifetime. I am in a man's world. I
Yep.
have to make myself different. I
Mhm.
have to be able to get in there and show them what I got. So my strategy is to give them a little taste of what I have, give them a little bit break. I talk about that on another podcast recently. After my husband died, I was broke. I had to get out there. I had to
Yep.
rebuild my life. I was $250,000 in debt. I had no life savings left, and I had to rebuild my life.
Mm.
So I had to get out there. I was recommended by architects. I've been in the industry for 31 years this year. So, but it's still a numbers game. So I gave them a little bit of break. They didn't know me. We're talking about a $30 million job.
Yeah.
All right, Pat, can we just give you the framing? We want to see what you can do. No problem. Give them the framing. This chick's pretty good. Give you the drywall, give you this insulation, give you the doors, the hardware, the ceilings.
Yep.
1.2 turns into millions, right?
Yep.
I time, and then I kept the client, and I wound up making probably, I don't know, $7 to $8 million with that client. So that little bit of discount to get in there to show them that you can do it, you can roll with the men, you can go to the meetings, you do your job, you do it, you excel at your job, and then we're off to the races.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just like anything else. When you don't look like the role, for me it was playing sports. I wasn't the tallest physical
True.
specimen, and so I actually had to show up at practices early and stay late till eventually the coaches saw it and gave me a shot. And
Good for you.
when they gave me a shot, I got on the field. It turned out I was one of the best people that we had on the team. Uh, but
Yeah.
I had to do more work than the ones that were maybe the physical specimens to get a chance to make the field. It's the same exact thing. Sometimes you're going to have to work harder because people have preconceived notions, preconceived expectations. Uh,
Yep.
you can
So,
complain about it like most people tend to do,
no,
or you can do what CEOs do. What the hell am I going to do about this company strategy and find a way to get on the field?
exactly. Take the opportunity, run with it. Like I tell everybody all the time, even if it's giving them a little bit of a break, give them a break when they need it. Sometimes developers are just like business owners. They their budgets are whacked out. They need a break on one. I'll make it up to you on another one.
Hmm.
And usually they hold true with that. You help them. Look, when you grow with your client, you're growing with them,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
You help them
So
grow, they help you grow.
correct. So you grow together and you care. You care about their money. Spend their money like you spend your own money.
Hmm.
It's very important. It's honorable when
Yeah,
you don't go around and just waste money of their money. A lot of guys do that. It's just not my MO. Every day I wake up, Josh, and I consider myself an underdog
mhm.
because I'm in an industry where I have to prove myself. So
But it's a
it's
good
just
mindset to have. It's a good mindset to bring to the table.
it
Be-
is.
because
It is
it
because you're
keeps you fighting.
hungry.
It keeps you fighting like you're fighting from behind. Even if you're ahead, it keeps you playing like you're behind, which is a good way to keep the dog running, right? To keep the horse on the chasing. That's the rabbit, right? I'm the underdog. I gotta catch this thing. If you catch the rabbit, they used to say that with the dogs, the dog track. If they ever catch the rabbit, because every once in a while that'll happen, the dog will never run again.
That's right. That's a great analogy.
I'm glad you liked it
Touche
because
to
I
you.
totally just made it up right now.
But I love it because it's true. You
Hmm.
know, it's like you got to stay hungry.
Yeah,
It's not, you get a lot of people judging you for that. Like, oh, you're just being greedy. No, I'm not. I'm building a legacy.
yeah,
I have the job of a mother and a father now. I have two sons. you know
yeah,
whether I don't utilize it as something that's, I'm not a victim. I
yeah,
refuse
yeah.
to be a victim. I want to leave a legacy. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to show my sons that shit happens to you in life, like you said, right?
What are you gonna do
But
about
you
it?
can take that and make it beneficial. Utilize that, you know utilize when something bad happens to you. Be determined to utilize it and make a positive out of a negative. And
Sure.
I'm very blessed. I've been able to do that. But people say, "Oh, you're just a strong person. I can't do that." If you keep telling yourself you can't do that, you won't do it. But
Absolutely.
you
Self-fulfilling
have
prophecy.
you have to be positive. Everybody is different,
Yep.
but find your different.
And lean into that. Absolutely.
Right. Make it your
Take away your
right.
internal excuses.
Right. There's zero excuses. Find your different and utilize that to your advantage because
Absolutely.
being different has its advantages, just like networking, right? I do
Yep.
my homework before I network. When I go to any kind of networking event, I find out who's going to be there, who they're working with, who I want to target, who's there that I want to talk to,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Might be 100 people there. I only want to talk to two,
Hmm.
right? Know who they're working with, make them feel comfortable, talk to them, find your commonality, right?
Hmm.
Know who's in the clique. You don't have to be in a clique. I'm
Yep.
not a big fan of cliques,
Me either.
but know who's in it and work your way in the circle because
Yep.
then you know who's in it, you know who they know, right?
Yep.
And then utilize that clique, even though you don't have to be in that clique,
Yep.
utilize who they know, right?
Yeah.
So
Lubricate the path to business.
exactly. Networking is huge, whether
Yeah,
people want to admit it or not.
it
You
is. Oh, it's a
you
very
know,
powerful thing.
it
Let me
is
ask you this.
very powerful.
What do you see as the opportunity in the market today? As you look at the market, the construction market, uh,
Uh, yeah, commercial construction that I'm in is an indicator.
mhm.
We run with the markets. AI technology is here to stay. It's really taken over a lot of aspects. Although, guys tend to be a little bit, they like the old school way of things, laying out from drawings.
Mhm.
Um, right now, I see a lot of, mid-rise residential commercial
Yeah.
still going strong. Residential is huge.
Yeah.
um I still stick with, you got your AI is huge, which in turn is your database, your data centers. Data centers are big. They're coming.
Yep.
Our president right now is pushing data big, and in turn, it's going to have a lot of opportunities for the construction industry.
Yeah.
We build what people need, right? So if AI and data is big, the cloud is huge. They need a place to store it all.
If they could find some way to take and depressurize all the pressures on construction, we could absolutely start to catch up. But we're so far behind on the construction side,
We
especially
are.
especially when it comes to homes. We're so far behind the curve as far as building goes, and it's because I don't know how it is for you in New Jersey. The the difficulty, the soft costs associated with dealing with the municipalities. I am a general contractor builder myself down here as
Oh,
well.
you are. Okay.
And so, the amount of time it takes to get through the municipality, the amount of time it takes to get the approvals,
Oh,
the amount of regulations, the code changes, that energy efficiency requirements, all of these things do the exact same thing, make it more time consuming and more expensive. And I don't know how you feel, Pat. I feel like often when I go to the municipalities, the only pleasure those people have is telling me what's missing from my
it's
submission. Like
true.
if they can't tell me no to what I'm trying to submit, they're like angry because that's the only pleasure they get is telling me,
It's
no,
so
you're missing your
true.
PTS 13B-4G form.
It's so true. I'm sorry for laughing,
No,
but
no, no.
it's like they take it and then you bring it back and you're all excited. And they're like, okay, goes on the pile. We have 21 days.
Right. And they're going to use every one of those 21 days. You know.
Everyone. You can call them and they get even more angrier at you. So I tell you, one good thing that we did in New Jersey was allow third party inspection from the beginning to the end. They opened up third party inspections.
It was a good move. They do it in some
It
of the
is a good
municipalities
move.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good move because a lot of these little towns, New Jersey has a habit of having boroughs and townships and all
Yep.
kinds of stuff. It's so convoluted with a million different towns. So a lot of them work for three and four of them. And the state said, you know what, we're going to open it up. We're going to allow, and then the towns get a little angry because now they're only allowed by law to charge you 20%
Yep.
for the permit fees. So there's all their money.
Yep. No,
I
I mean
mean, I,
those municipalities get fat and bloated, and it just people don't realize how much it actually costs the consumers at the end, because those costs, all the aggravate, the inspection that you fail because the inspector's girlfriend had a fight with him this morning, and he just decided to fail you because he wanted to. I don't know if it's the same there too. This is one that I've
same
noticed
way.
when
Yeah.
when there's an inspector that's filling in for another inspector from the city, they always fail you. Like they don't want to be on the hook for like passing something that's the other, like when the electrical guy's filling in for the plumbing guy kind of thing,
Yeah.
because he's on vacation, they never want to pass the inspection. That's usually the experience that I have, at least.
It's true. It's so true. I'm going to tell you, I work with GCs from all over the country. They have franchise agreements to work all over. So I'll give you an example. I was working for a company from Virginia. They asked me, they'll pay me for my time to go submit the permits because GCs have to submit.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I went to pick them up. It was for a small addition. It was like a warehouse, and they were doing a sales for Ferguson, huge Ferguson Plumbing.
Yep, yep.
So I took it down there. It was literally an L. We're just demising up the warehouse space, putting ceilings, 2 bathrooms. That's it. Renovate their existing office. I picked the permits up, Josh. It was $50,000. 50. I was like, holy crap. $50,000 for this permit?
Yep.
I was shocked because I'm a sub, right? I'm a prime. So I don't usually get involved with the permits because,
Yeah.
I'm not a license in New Jersey. Only the plumbers and the electricians and HVAC are licensed, right? So
Oh
the
yeah. No.
GC does all that work. They do the permits and they pay for the permits for the owners. And I was like, no wonder why it's costing so much for a faucet, right?
It's Pat. Florida is, not only does the GC have to be licensed, it is the toughest licensure of anywhere in the
Talk to
state.
me about Florida. I tried to just move my license from Jersey to Florida,
Not gonna
and
happen.
they gave me such a hard time. I walked away. I said, you wonder why you have so many people in this state. I have 31 years. I had letters certified from architects, engineers. She's been outstanding. I gave them my credit report, everything, and they would not give me.
No, I'm telling you that the state exam is 2 full days. So
Wow.
it's 2 4-hour exams each day. I mean, you'd probably rock it because you know all the stuff. But because Florida has the two separate code books, we have the regular construction code, then we have the high velocity wind code, which part of the state ascribes to
Right.
it. Or
Right.
so we
Right.
have, so like you get questions and you got to watch to make sure they talk about the high velocity wind code section of the book or
Yeah.
whatever. Uh, but I mean, if you the whole section's on finance and business, you'll have that rocked out, no
Oh,
problem. But the construction side, they definitely, yeah. I mean, I passed it the first time around, but it's a tougher test. But it's
I
definitely.
wasn't even going for a GC license. I
Mm.
was going for a local specialty license for Broward, Palm Beach,
Oh wow!
and they wouldn't let me transfer my similar.
If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna do it, go for the state license. All right, you're gonna take it something because the state license supersedes all that local crap. You can do business wherever the hell you want, and
You're
there's nothing
right.
they can say about it.
I
And
just withdrew my application. I said, I don't have time for this. They said, present yourself at the Broward County meeting. And it was the following Monday. I had a wedding in another state. I was
yeah,
like, I don't have time for this. I already did background checks. I spent $400 on 3 different ones. They kept expiring.
yep.
Fingerprints, background check.
I want all of our listeners to hear every time you go and complain about how expensive a house is to buy, this
Exactly.
is the shit right here that
Yeah,
makes it expensive. Because all the time while all this is going on, that debt service on the construction loan is
that's right.
ticking away at 9, 10, 11% money that they got in there.
Yeah.
This is what makes it so expensive. They want to sit there and say it's because realtors are making too much money or
No,
because contractors are hiring too many untrained. No,
no,
it is because of the soft cost. There is one monopoly, and it is the government. The
that's right.
government is a monopoly. Why can they charge $50,000 for the plans?
Because they
Who's going to
can.
stop them? I can't go next door and say, you know what? I'm not going to work with your city. I'm going to go to the city next door. There's no other DMV to go to, so they can treat you like crap at the DMV because you have no other choice.
Well, you know the old saying, if you can't fight them, just move on, just keep going, join
Yeah,
them, right? So, like I said, it was a Ferguson retail store. It was their waterworks division, but you wonder why stuff costs so much. They're a huge company. So that's just one location.
one
They have
location, a
thousands
couple of bathrooms, a showroom, 50 grand. Guys, that wasn't the construction cost. That was the fees for the permits.
just to pick up a piece of paper.
Yeah, so that was some guys looking at the plans and saying, yeah, they're okay.
Yep.
And a couple of inspectors to come out. $50,000.
I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I was like, 50 grand for a little demising wall and a renovation of an existing office and 2 bathrooms?
It's
I mean, there
ridiculous.
was no ceilings, right? It's
Ridiculous.
all industrial. They had some epoxy flooring. They changed the overhead door to an entry storefront door. I mean, I don't know, man. I was just like, that's crazy to me.
It has a
That's
lot,
crazy.
Pat, it has a lot in common with a vacuum cleaner. It
Yeah,
sucks. It
sucks.
sucks. Yeah.
It does. It does. But people out there need to know it's not just us taking all the
No,
money. It's a
look,
lot of administrative fees that everybody pays for, and they don't fight them. They're like, whatever, we'll just add it to
what are
the
you going to do?
cost.
Because you fight them now, they're mad at you. Now they start failing your inspections and crap like that. You get the building official pissed at you, and now that
Oh,
whole
forget
city
that.
could be dead to you. And it's
Yeah.
like they have the
And
unbridled authority to wreck your life.
right. And that particular job, we had a problem. So, you're a GC. Typically, architects spec if you have an acoustical ceiling or a hard ceiling, you just have to bring the drywall 6 inches above finished ceiling, right?
Hmm.
It was existing framing down the corridor. And they said, nope, this is our town. We're going to want what we want. If it has a metal stud, we want to see it covered. They had to pay me almost 20 grand to go back
And
and rock
drywall above the ceiling.
all the way to the deck on every piece of metal in the building
Wow.
because they said we don't want to see any metal studs.
They
It's
said,
it's a backdraft. It's this draft. I'm like, but it's a hard ceiling. You're sealing your ceiling, right? You're
yeah,
sealing the fire within the room, in that room, because it's a hard ceiling. So it becomes an assembly.
yep.
They didn't want to hear nothing. This is our town. This is our rodeo, and that's what we want. We
When
don't care
I
because
teach,
they have the ability to request whatever they want. They can go above and beyond
Yeah,
the
whatever they feel
code,
like,
because it's
whatever.
their rodeo, right?
And frankly, when they hear the New Jersey accent or they hear me coming, all of a sudden they have special requirements just because. It totally a
Exactly.
thing. And what's crazy is with all of that, um, when I teach intro to commercial real estate, I, I run into the
Okay.
exact same thing because I talk about the fire chief. I say, look, I am totally cool with
The worst.
any fireman, anybody that runs into a building to go rescue people. They're a rock star in my book.
I
But that,
agree.
but that chief, that guy, I could totally do without. I had a property, right? The guy comes in, the property's built in the 60s, permitted, everything's fine. One day, now this is like 2004, he comes in. I bought the property a few years ago. He comes in
Okay.
and says, we want you to demolish half this building over here. I'm like, why? Well,
What?
because we can't get our fire truck around the building. I'm like, you guys permitted this. Did you change trucks? I mean, maybe I could take and train you. Could I pay to train your drivers to drive the truck better so I don't have to take half this building down? Nope.
So they wanted you to take your building down to widen the fire zone?
Yes, to create a circumnavigation of the building. Or option two, spend $250,000 to fire sprinkle the thing. Or option three, they don't issue another certificate of occupancy for any of my tenants again.
Oh my God, that's bribery.
That like I expect that from Big Louie down in Brooklyn. I don't expect that kind of behavior. Like I expect that from a mob guy. I don't
Yeah.
expect that from the municipality. But at the end of the day, it's unbridled, unchecked power. Nobody's checking on them. And frankly, as much of the conversation has been going on about trying to make things better, this topic that really you and I both know is so expensive,
Oh,
nobody's talking about it.
nobody's talking about it. You know why? It's a good old boys club.
It is.
So you piss them off, you're right. They're going to give you a hard time. So even in like the new laws started last year, there's a couple companies that do everything. So it used to be third party was, footings, this, that, but now you can have every individual one. So there's a few companies in New Jersey that can do building, electric, fire, and plumbing. So it's all the subcodes, right? But
Yep.
then they get mad at you.
Oh, totally a thing.
So the developers get scared because they're like, oh my God, I got another building in this town. I can't use a third party. So now you have that issue going on. I know I can by law, but I can't because they're
You
going to,
technically can, but nobody's going to let you.
they don't want to they don't want to have the problem on the next building. Right.
Mhm.
So it's a double-edged sword. It's there, it's available. But, up North Jersey, a lot of those guys are 3 weeks out. You fell for one little thing and they want to come back in 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, it kills
It's
you.
not it's not doable. So you get a third party. It's like
Absolutely.
I can't
So
can't wait 3 weeks.
I don't know
I
if
want
you've
to
ever
close up
read the
my
book.
walls.
I don't
I
know if
want
you've
to
ever
put
read the book,
drywall on,
but it's
right?
really worthwhile read. Have you ever read
I
the
will
book?
read it.
Have you ever read the book called The Power Broker?
No.
It is the story of Robert Moses. All right, and
Okay, I know
if you
him.
don't know who Robert Moses is, uh, he was the most powerful man in New York. I mean, governors and all these guys were terrified of him. He was like the head of Parks and Recreation. He had a couple of like these non-elected jobs, but he wielded so much
Powerful,
power
right?
that even like LaGuardia was afraid of him. Rockefeller
Really?
was afraid. Yeah, guy, you're gonna hate the guy's guts by the time it's done. A real scumbag. But if you want to know how it really works, it's a huge book. Get it as an audiobook and just listen to it while you're driving. But yeah, really, really interesting read of just how the whole thing works. Like the issue really is because anybody that knows how the laws in those municipalities work,
Yep.
they're able to
Especially in
put
New York.
themselves in a political position where they can't be gotten rid of. Um, and there's really not people. A lot of times, there's people that maybe have technically more power than they do, but they are in a position where they can't get rid of them somehow. And so, if you can do whatever the hell you want, and nobody can get rid of you, what do you tend to
Well,
do?
that's a problem, isn't it?
It totally
And
is.
I think our current administration has a little experience in building in New York,
Nah,
and
maybe a
he's
little.
trying to fast track some of the problems,
No,
right?
no, and I think that I'm definitely hearing that, and I'm grateful
I'm
for that.
hoping. Yeah.
I'm hopeful. The only issue is on the local level is where the problem really, in my mind. A
You're
lot of
right.
it is housed. That and zoning restrictions. The zoning restrictions are just. I was just in Jackson, Wyoming. Ten
Wow, nice
percent.
area.
10%. They had me speaking there. 10% of the land is buildable. 90% is protected. Median
Wow.
to hire a rough carpenter, $50 an hour minimum starting. 50 an
But there's
hour.
not much work then.
There's tons of work.
10%?
50, 10% buildable space. They have all these multi-million dollar mansions. Like a
I
small
heard
house
it's
there is
nice.
like 4 million. That's a small house, right?
Wow.
And so but to get a rough carpenter starting at $50 an hour. Why? Well, where the hell is he going to live? He's going to live like an hour away. So he's taking an hour commute both ways back to work. Well, how much you got to pay somebody to take and do that? And then it's
Mm,
Jackson, Wyoming. So how much of the year is actually buildable? You know
you're
what I
right.
mean?
It's very
And so
limited time.
yeah. It's so interesting as I go to all these different
It's like
parts of the
Alaska,
country
3
to
months.
see. Yeah, same thing. Alaska, I think it's something like 50% of the world's private planes are in Alaska.
Yeah, that's the only way they can get around. I mean,
Most of the year. Yeah. It's interesting stuff. So
it's a shame. I mean, the whole thing is a shame. People don't understand what we go through. It's very corrupt. It's just, and it basically is like that guy, Robert Moses. He figured out how to play the game,
oh,
and he
oh he
became
did.
very powerful doing it.
Very much so. And I'm telling you, you're going to hate the guy by the time it's done. But it's a very interesting read.
Because I said so, right? That's probably what he says a lot. Because I said
How
so.
about this? No, more than anything, the guy like forced all these changes, all these like he designed roads and stuff like that. Guy never had a driver's license.
Oh
He
my
was
God.
driven everywhere his entire life, but like just super entitled, super like aristocratic, thought he was the greatest thing in the world.
And he,
Everybody else was an idiot compared to him. And so, I mean, he's the one that built what's the Jersey Turnpike and moved all the buildings to have the bridge run through. Like, read it, you'll get a kick out of it.
interesting.
Yeah.
But that's even though he's a jerk, that's a it's a good business book.
Oh,
It
absolutely. I
teaches
mean, if you
you that
want,
you don't have to know everything. You have to know business.
yeah, no, you have to. If you're going to be in the business of politics, you have to understand the business of politics. He did.
That's
He
right.
carved himself a niche, and I mean, you will see if you read that book throughout the course of the
I'm
book,
gonna read
people
it.
who name brands are cowering in fear to this guy. Governor Rockefeller offered him two of his positions. So, like, he was appointed when Rockefeller took over. He offered him two of the three positions that he had.
Wow.
He threatened to walk away. Within a couple of hours, Rockefeller caved and gave him the third job back as well.
Wow.
Just and it's
What
not
did
because the
he
guy was
have?
good. It's not like that he was effective or efficient. It was just how he
Power.
had cobbled power together. Yeah.
And you know where that probably came from, my opinion?
Hmm.
A lot of networking.
Oh, there was quite a bit of that. He knew how to get the federal money. He knew how to take and qualify for stuff. They got a lot of the projects funded
Yeah.
and things like that. So yeah. Let me ask you this: what would you say is the most important thing you've learned in the process of doing what you've done?
Um, I think I always go back to honesty. I think it's important that you remain true to yourself. You have to be consistent. You have to be honest. You have to be yourself. You know, it's very easy to in my industry. Maybe I got good at it. It's very easy to spot a fake, right? You
Sure.
have to be organic. You have to be true. You know, when you represent yourself in an honest and consistent way, um, you know, you tell to me honesty. If you tell the truth all the time, you never have to remember your lies, right? So you
Yep.
never get caught doing something that you didn't. Oh God, I forgot the first time I met him. I told him I built this building, right? And
Oops.
then you're in a conversation saying, "Yeah, my friend really built the building," but
Yep.
I don't play that game. So I think I think honesty, staying professional, consistency, being true to yourself, it goes a long way. It shows people who you are, and then they want to work with you. You have their best interest in mind. It's just the basic foundations of being an entrepreneur. Your
Yep.
client should be um, your most important number one thing in yourself. Without your client, you don't have anything.
You got nothing. Absolutely.
Everybody has a client,
Yep. All right.
you
So,
know.
lightning round. Quick answers. Just first take on this. What would you say you're most proud of in business that you've accomplished?
Most proud is being able to run a company by myself.
Love it.
We all get very comfortable, especially when you build a business with your spouse. You get comfortable with leaning on that comfort zone of them taking care of a certain aspect and you doing another aspect, and then all of a sudden you have to do both aspects. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud to be able to pick up where I left off with my husband and do everything myself. I no longer just do the office, I do the field and the office. So I lay out all my own buildings, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I was able to pick up the bidding. Estimating is very crucial in our industry. So I'm proud of that.
All right. Good stuff. What would you say you're most proud of in life that you've accomplished?
My two sons.
Always a good call.
Yeah, my sons are amazing. Everybody compliments me on that, and I wear that very proudly. I
Love it.
taught them how to be men. I was a very, very tough mom. I was raised tough, so
Yeah.
I wasn't their friend. I raised them. I took raising adults very seriously. It
Mhm.
was my job to raise self-sufficient men. They were going to be fathers and husbands someday, and
Yep.
I made sure that they were independent. They both owned their own homes before they were 27. Never gave them a dime. Made them earn their money. Granted, I'm in the industry. If they needed help after they closed, I
Yeah.
helped them with whoever trade, but I made sure that they saved their own money, got their own jobs. You know, I'm very proud of them, Josh. Very proud. They're all the guys. They're men's men. They get along with everybody. They know how to communicate very well, and they're successful.
Good stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
what would you give? What if you had to give one piece of advice to our listeners? What would it be?
Be relentless,
All right.
persevere, keep going. Don't take no for an answer. I am a perfect example of that. Everybody told me I would never be able to run a company by myself without my husband, and I proved everybody wrong. Keep going. I gave an example earlier in this podcast. Sometimes rejection is protection. The best job you ever got was the one you lost,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
All right.
sometimes coming around the second time around,
Yep.
I tell the owner, I said, look, I gave you a deal, but I made more money on the T&M than I would have on the base contract.
Yep.
So I'm grateful that I lost that job. Sometimes the best job you ever got was the one you lost. So keep persevering, keep knocking on those doors. Don't worry about no's. No's turns into yes real quick.
Okay. If you had to recommend, what one book would you recommend for somebody to read?
Oh my God, I don't have time to read.
I
So
hear that.
maybe
I
it would
listen.
be my book, Kicking
All right.
Karma's Ass, because I talk about my memoir because it teaches people about life. And,
So what's
and
your book's name, Pat?
but name of my book is called Kicking Karma's Ass. It's a
Okay.
memoir, but it talks about my entire life and how I learned after losing very important people in my life. I didn't just lose my husband, Josh. I
Mm.
lost my brother, my mother, my father, and my husband in 3 years.
Oof.
So, talk about rejection. You feel like you're being abandoned.
Yeah. Like
So
you're
I
getting your
did a
ass
life
kicked every which
review,
way.
and I realized I'm very blessed that I connected the dots backwards, and I realized, and I wrote my book. I'm a very personal person, and I put it out there for people to learn
Yeah.
about my experience. Will teach you eh, a lot about life.
Yeah.
That sometimes when shit happens to you, it's teaching you a lesson for something you're going to need future
Yep.
in your life.
Absolutely. It's
And
amazing
that's
how often that
why I
happens.
think it's a good read for people. It's a quick read. It's under 200 pages,
Mm.
but I think it'll teach people a lot about life and business. And what I went through is a stepping stones for maybe when they're going through a tough time. Hey, if she did it, I can do it. She learned tough lessons in life that helped her later in years. I don't know. It just happened that way. I was blessed to be able to examine my life and write that book.
Sure.
And hopefully, from the reviews and everything that I've gotten, it did go international. It was a bestseller on Amazon. people can relate to it from everywhere, from going to Catholic school and growing up in a violent household and alcoholism and healthcare. That's a whole other story we can do. The healthcare industry that dragged me through the mud. It's just a little bit about life in itself, and I think it's a good read.
Awesome. No, it sounds like it would be.
Yeah.
Favorite movie of all time?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Good movie. Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, and it's actually a little bit of my life, right? You
Mhm.
think Jimmy Stewart, he wants to kill himself because things are so bad
Yep.
financially, and then he has faith and it comes through. So I'm a very spiritual person after what happened to me.
Yep.
So I think it's a great movie. I think it's life, art imitating life, right?
Yeah, yeah. Favorite famous person in history you'd want to meet if you could?
Uh, that's a good question. I don't know. Probably an architect.
All right.
So
Person from your past you'd want to sit down and have lunch with today if you could.
my dad,
All right.
yeah.
What what one piece of advice would you go back and give a younger version of you?
Don't be so high strung.
Okay.
You can't take them all. When I was younger, I wanted to do everything. I call it
Yeah.
the German Shepherd syndrome.
Mm,
When you're young and you're starting your business,
yeah.
they're not all for you, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Every job is not the right job. So don't be so
That's
high
right.
strung. Let things flow. Rejection, God's protection. Don't chase after things that aren't meant to be.
Yeah. Who would you want to be stuck in a foxhole with?
Hmm. Foxhole with. That's a good question. Probably my fiance Mark, because he
Okay.
grew up on a farm in Poland and he can get food in the woods.
All right. Good. Keep us fed.
He will keep you fed. He can build stuff. He came from poverty too. So,
Love it. What do you do to unwind, Pat?
oh, I go in my garden. I go in the woods. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of nature. Getting in touch, taking your shoes off, walking on the grass, gardening, going, hiking, being outside. I think it's. I like to be by the ocean too. So that's
Love
how
it.
I unwind. And I drive my fast cars. It's a little.
Fast cars are wonderful, aren't they?
They look. It's my thing. I
Yeah.
like fast cars.
I don't blame you.
You work hard. It's nothing wrong with buying yourself stuff.
That's
There's
absolutely
a
true.
reason. There's a lot of reasons why we have stuff, right? I like to drive at sunset and go through the horse farms. It's very relaxing to me.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. So, last question I really have for you. I have two actually left. What's next for you? I know we talked before we went on camera that you got some things going on you're excited about.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's next for you?
So what's next for me is we're building the brand. I want to offer my wisdom and knowledge. I believe we're going to be. I'm going to be launching my own podcast pretty soon, Growing
Nice.
with the Underdog with Pat Miller. So I want to have entrepreneurs on like yourself and people who made it through grit, perseverance, telling stories about how they built their business as well, like you did.
Yep.
I have that going on. I'm continuing to advise. I'm starting to get into a little bit of consulting. I'm working with CMs directly, GC work, just continuing to move up the ladder
Yeah.
and offering. I think it's important that we give back, though. I think
Yeah.
it's
No, I agree with
important. I
that.
wish I had somebody like me when I started my business in my 20s. Wisdom is just priceless, isn't it?
It's priceless, and sometimes it's very hard and costly to get. And
Yeah.
so, if you could
So
spare anybody that
experience.
process, yeah. I mean, the question always winds up being, if I had somebody like that back then, would I even have listened, or would I still have had to make the same mistakes?
You're right.
I'd like to think I would have listened, uh, but then
We
again, my
all know
experience,
everything.
I,
Yeah. When you're in your 20s, you know everything, but
yeah, it's a
it's
thing.
all good. You get humbled. And usually
Yeah,
when you get humbled, it's because it costs you money, right?
there's a price tag,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Last question I have for you, Pat. Where can people find you?
Oh, sure. So I'm all over social media. It's the Pat Miller 11. I have my own company website, Blue Diamond Construction NJ, like NewJersey.com. So you can see me all over the place. I have a communications firm that keeps people very informed on what I'm doing. Look at my website. You can see some of the stuff I built. It's pretty
Beautiful.
interesting. I have a varied, I go everywhere from, Starbucks all the way to medical facilities and apartment complexes. So
Nice.
yeah,
Well,
I like to do a lot of different things. It keeps it
keeps it
interesting.
fresh and interesting.
Yeah, I know guys that only do Starbucks, but that to me is a little bit
Kind
boring.
of dull. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to do everything, but go on my website, you see what I'm doing. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn under Patricia Pat Miller because that's what they call me in the industry is Pat. You
Yeah.
know, it's funny. When I started out, I always used Pat because when they came to the job site, they didn't know if I was a guy or a
Yeah,
girl.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I'm standing there and they're like, I'm looking for Pat Miller, and they're looking, and I'm like,
I think I saw Pat right. Oh, it's
yeah, and I'm
me.
like, and they're like, you're a girl, and I'm like, yeah.
Who knew? You're kidding. I just found that out. Yeah.
Well,
That's
it's
awesome.
all good. I come from a
Pat,
family of men. It's guys are good. They're good. They treat you with respect. I'll give you
there you
that.
go.
Yep.
Pat, thank you so much for your
Thanks for
time. Thanks
having
for
me.
coming on. It was great having you here.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Josh. Have a great day.
And I want to thank our guests, our listeners, for hanging out with us. Thank you for spending your time reminding you, as I always do, there's never a good excuse not to know your shit. Till next time, guys.